Should we start with the proof of life statement that Square Enix put out for Final Fantasy?
Nice. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does
I think
still
a lot of
exist.
people, including us, were expecting this to pop up at the now fairly disappointing PlayStation Showcase, considering that it is still listed for a winter 2023 release. Obviously, that means either later this year or early next year. Yeah, well, you can tell yourself that all you want. I really don't think it's out this year.
I think it's early next year.
So Square Enix has issued a small update on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the upcoming second chapter to its Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. In the statement really issued via Twitter, Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase.
I think so.
Kitase confirmed development is progressing smoothly and a firm release date is now being considered. So Eurogamer says, so that's nice.
That's quite
That's
nice.
really funny. Yeah, the whole it was weird. It was just like an image that was like a question and answer thing.
I saw that,
Basically says development is progressing smoothly and according to plan. We are currently working on nailing down a release date in bold for the game. That was it.
It's just funny because the wording, I imagine like a boardroom full of people just bouncing ideas off like October 23rd, and someone's like, oh no, it's we can't do that because whatever. And someone's like, what about August 5th? And they're like, no. So they're like really working to nail this down. So let's break. Let's go have lunch. We'll discuss after.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this shows up Achilles thing.
No, I mean, not after this statement. I feel that if it were going to show up, this wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Yeah, they'd be like, well, just wait a few days and you'll fucking see it. So I think this is them getting out ahead of all of these press conferences and being like, this thing's not going to appear there because we literally do not have a release date yet. It is coming. I think given that they don't have a release date, this almost like confirms to me this is not coming out
next year.
There's no
I think
way
it's
this is
like
coming out this year.
March next year.
Yeah. Even I mean, them giving a release window, it's nice to have, but those things have been blown past so many times.
Sure.
Like just like a CD Projekt Red, how many times they did that. So So yeah, at least it's still alive.
It's alive.
But yeah, I definitely think this is a next year thing only.
I had no doubts, but it is nice to know that it is alive. What
else? Should we stick with PlayStation slightly? A new exclusive is coming to PC. It's time.
What news
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is finally coming to PC.
I was in the right piece. I was like, oh my God, is it an exclusive I missed?
No. Yeah, it's cool.
Well,
it's 2 years almost to the day that it will be coming to PC. So that's neat.
It's a real good game. But
it's a fantastic game, I think. Yeah.
It is hilarious though, because this was the game that Sony were like, those interdimensional rifts, man, the power of PlayStation 5 makes them possible. So it makes me wonder.
There's nothing on the PC specs that specifies
a hard drive
requires SSD. You know what I mean?
Which makes me wonder.
The system requirements aren't necessarily fully out, but there's nothing in the features list that is like, will require SSD to play. Because like you said, Sony made a fucking big deal about that. Like they were like, without the power of this SSD, jumping between these worlds would not be possible. So either they found a way to do it after a while,
or they lied.
Or they were just trying to sell you a console.
Marketing lingo,
would you believe it?
Get out.
This game is going to look fucking great. I mean, it looks phenomenal on PS5, but
already.
On PC, running at full tilt with all the ray tracing stuff, I think it's going to look fantastic.
Great. It's a good game. If you haven't,
it's a really good game. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It also is a game where it made very good use of the DualSense.
Yeah.
So I definitely think you can play it without that, but having the secondary fire mode as like another press on your trigger was really clever. Yeah, it's cool.
Cool. So that's coming
cool game.
out.
You know what else is coming out?
Are you talking about Nintendo?
A new 1-2 Switch.
Why? Who asked for this?
Why is this happening?
So
Everybody Want to Switch is coming out later this month.
I can't believe it.
Nintendo just fucking tweeted this thing.
Well, so let's just dial back for a second. If you don't know what this game is, because so when the Switch launched, it came out, but it wasn't bundled with the game, but simultaneously a game called Want to Switch launched alongside it. And if you were a new Switch owner, you might have thought like, oh wow, this is like let's think of it like the Wii Sport bundling for the Wii, except I have to buy it. And those people bought the game, and all they found was some weird mini games. And it was a full price game, and it made people wonder, why was this just not bundled with the Switch to begin with? Like as a, hey, you bought the Switch as a free game to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like a full
It wasn't a
price.
pack-in. Yeah.
No, it wasn't a pack-in. So
it should have been a pack-in.
the fact that the sequel exists is just like, what? Who asked for this? I don't know.
So I actually forgot about this, but Eurogamer mentions now it's not the first we've heard of Everybody Want to Switch.
What?
It leaked last year and gained some infamy because apparently Nintendo was sitting on it. It was ready to go, but it had tested so horribly that they decided to delay it internally.
I mean, do you think they fixed it?
No.
It'll cost just £25.
Also, you can play this game with your smartphone. So it's like Joy-Con
What?
and smartphone.
My word.
So that like takes out the whole point of the first game, was like it is a demo for what the Joy-Con can do.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know why this exists. Will I check it out? Yes.
It is out on June 30th, so get hype.
My God.
Get hype for 1 2 Switch 2.
1 2 Switch 2. Well, yeah. 1 2 Switch 2. 2 1 2 1 2 Switch.
2 1 2 1 2 Switch.
Hi, Nintendo.
Have you heard about this game called Redfall?
Yes. Yes, I
turns out
can't
it's
believe
not
how
that
much
great.
news there was this week. Just
Yeah,
looking
no,
at it now, I really thought there was nothing. It was actually
hose of news. Like, yeah, it turns out this game's not fantastic, and
shocker.
Unsurprisingly, it has not been fantastic for a very long time. Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg had a huge kind of he had a huge report on like what happened with this game. And it comes down to a few, like, I think, critical errors on ZeniMax's part. So Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax, was apparently encouraging studios to develop games as a service that could generate revenue post-release, or while it sought to sell itself. Stop me if you heard this story before.
Never.
This was especially after Prey was a commercial kind of failure. Arcane wanted to make a more broadly appealing game, and that essentially turned into Redfall.
Yeah.
So it was originally pitched as a multiplayer Arcane game, and it's said in this report that most staff weren't entirely sure how to incorporate an immersive sim elements that the studio was known for into a multiplayer game. It didn't help that directors Harvey Smith and Ricardo Bear didn't provide the staff much direction in that case. So they spent months, if not years, just kind of working blindly on like very vague goals, and like this needs to be more Far Cry, or this needs to be more Borderlands, and like people didn't really understand what that meant.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So Arcane's office in Austin only employed less than 100 people. So the team was heavily understaffed to develop a multiplayer game of this scale. And as a result, morale suffered, developers were uninterested by the idea, and around 70% of the staff that worked on Prey had left the studio.
It's crazy.
During the development of Redfall. That is obscene.
Yeah.
That is like, Arcane Austin is a completely different team now. Like,
yeah.
And then while these people were leaving, they were struggling to fill all the vacancies that were left because ZeniMax apparently had a reputation for lower than average salaries and conservative policies in the studio's home state of Texas. And was obviously made worse by the fact that they couldn't announce what the game was. So I think the wildest thing here is that after the acquisition of ZeniMax, Microsoft purchased them. Some employees actually hoped that Microsoft would cancel the project outright, but Microsoft was so hands off that they just let it continue. And Phil Spencer said previously in an interview that's on them for not engaging further and seeing what a mess it was.
It is weird though, because even like it was wrong of Microsoft to not engage with the studio. However, it's funny when an acquisition like this happens. I'm sure there are people going like, yeah, okay, Microsoft's got them, but they mustn't get involved. Like, don't mess with Arcane
absolutely.
Austin. Let them do their thing. But it's weird how this is the inverse, and people are like, oh, but why did Microsoft not get involved?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people at first were like, I hope Microsoft doesn't meddle in trying to
steer clear, don't touch
force
them.
Arcane to do something. I mean, when Redfall came out, people were like, well, you see, Microsoft tried to make them make a multiplayer game, and it turns out they were doing that beforehand.
Yeah.
And like Microsoft probably should have gone in there and just like shot the horse at the back of the shed and been like, this is not working.
Yeah.
And the problem with that now is Microsoft is emboldened to be a lot more heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Because they're like, look, we fucking gave you the chance and you fucked it up.
And now look what happened, yeah.
Yeah. You made us look like clowns. Now we are making sure you do not do that again.
Someone Photoshop clown Phil Spencer. I have to see that. Yeah, look, I think it's sad overall for, like, you never want to see a studio, put out a game that ruins their reputation.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But man, like Redfall really missed. I don't think anyone knew was going to miss this hard.
Especially a studio that put out a game like Prey, which is fantastic. It's a good game. Like, I have issues with it, but it's a really, really fun game, a really great immersive sim. And like, for them to come out and be like, cool, we're making a multiplayer game, like everyone gave them the benefit of the doubt, being like, Arcane has yet to miss. Yes. And they fucking missed here so hard. But it just seemed like a bad idea from the get-go. And Can you name a game that you think is in a very similar predicament to this, about to embarrass their developers?
Starfall.
No, you heard of a game called Suicide Squad?
Oh yes, yeah. I was kidding about Starfall. I mean Starfield.
A game from a studio predominantly known to make action single-player games, now making a games of the service 4-player game that everyone is looking at and going, what the fuck is this?
What is this? Yeah. It's been delayed, but I don't think...
Redfall version 2 is out next year. I will put money on it. And there will be a similar retrospective of like, oh yeah, Warner Brothers got Rocksteady to make a game that they really didn't have faith in, and that's why it took 9 years, and there was constant direction changes, and
I don't know. You kind of hope that somebody looks at this and goes, let's not do that. I mean, they're not going to now not do Suicide Squad or have enough time to make significant enough changes.
No.
But you have to hope. It's like, man, can we learn a lesson from this? Oh, thank you. I got a coffee and a croissant.
Ooh.
Look at that.
And a croissant.
So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Redfall. That's a game I still want to download and try, just to say I've tried it. That face speaks so many things.
Let's stick with Microsoft real quick.
Nice.
Because this is a small update. The merger stuff is still happening. Microsoft's still fighting the UK's competition, the CMA, so the Competition Merger Authority. So they've filed their appeal, and there's a preliminary July 24th start date for the hearings on this appeal, which is a lot sooner than I think most people expected. A lot sooner than the CMA definitely wanted. So yeah. I mean, apparently the appeal will unlikely require all 10 days. Not too sure what happens then after that. Like, I think there is a judgment, like whether or not Microsoft is successful in the appeal. And if they are, basically that just means the CMA re-reviews the deal, which can take months again. So,
It's a wild
and
time.
I'm sure sending the work back to the people who already said no to be like, okay, you made a mistake, check it again. I'm sure that will definitely convince them to come back with a yes.
This is like having 79% on an exam and sitting it back like, please, just give me the 1%. Like, come on.
And you get it back and you get 78. And you're like, fuck's sake.
Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, I don't know how the story's going to unfold, but I don't know. I don't know
I still don't see it going well in the UK. If this appeal fails, that's like game over, rip deal. You know?
Yeah, guess who's moving to the UK? This guy. Guess who's going to have not whatever the rest of the world has? This guy.
Yeah, no Game Pass for you.
Oh my God. Can you imagine, like, to get around the deal, we've cancelled Game Pass in the UK. I'm like, well, guess I'm moving back.
Yeah.
Just for Game Pass.
Lenska, pack your bags.
We're going home. I can't do this. We have, I suppose let's just keep with Microsoft here, because I need you to tell me about this. The Xbox 360 controller is making a comeback for Xbox Series X.
Let's fucking go. So, there's loads of alternative controllers for the Xbox that have been made by company Hyperkin. They're the ones who recreated the old Xbox Duke controller, that massive fucking colossal thing, and made it wirelessly compatible with the Xbox consoles. So now they've done that with the Xbox 360 controller, which I think is a very good controller, aside from its absolutely abhorrent D-pad. It's a very nice ergonomic. Yeah, it's fucking gross. That D-pad is absolutely shit. But I think it's a nice ergonomic feel to it. So
there's a missed opportunity here from Xbox with this nice metallic Nexus button. Like, I think
it's very nice.
If they had that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's an option on Design Lab, for example. But man, imagine having you can put the retro 360 button on your whatever you design. I think it'd be quite cool.
Yeah. So this is only a wired controller, which is kind of a bummer. But it is only $50. And comes in,
oh my God.
Yeah. Listen, if you're playing at your desk, I guess, sure. But if you... it comes in 3 colors, even the default white that the Xbox controller launched with, which is great because it just turns brown over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out this year. I think I have no idea when this is out, but it looks sick. June 6th launch, so it is out.
As a proud PS5 white controller owner, I'd never want to own a white accessory again. Looks,
oh my God, no.
Looks great in product shots. When you hold it, amazing. Doesn't matter how often you wash your hands before you play, that thing is going to turn brown. It is the worst. And I hate it.
I have numerous Xbox 360 controllers, white ones, and they are all fucking disgusting today.
Just make it a dark color. I'd rather, I'll sleep better at night knowing it's disgusting, but I can't see it.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Exactly.
It's cool. It's cool, man.
Absolutely disgusting.
Last few pieces
VR.
Of news.
MetaQuest 3 is launching. The thing that has been leaked to hell and back is finally coming out.
Nice.
So, yeah. It's the next version of, Meta's standalone headset. It will start at $500 for the 128 gig version, which is quite a bit. But it does feature next generation, Snapdragon chip inside.
Double the GPU power. Nice.
Double the GPU power. It's also lighter. It's 20% lighter than the previous one, which is really cool. The controllers are being completely redesigned. They don't need that stupid tracking circle on the outside anymore.
Nice.
And they have haptics now as well.
Look at that.
So yeah, it's really, really cool. It seems like it's got full color video pass through, which is awesome, I think. It's a cool headset. It's just a bit expensive, I think. But because of that, Meta is dropping the price of the Quest 2.
That's very cool.
And saying that it will stick around for a while. So that gives you an entry point into VR. So you can get the Quest 2 now for its original price, which is hilarious. They're we've discounted it. They've just moved it back to what it originally was.
Nice.
$300 for the 128 gig version and $350 for the 256.
Nice.
There's also a big update, a big patch coming to the Quest 2, which will which Meta says will significantly increase its processing power. So
yeah, explain that Black Magic to me, because
I have no fucking clue how that works.
I don't have the numbers yet, but I remember you and Jeff talking about it in Discord. It was like a 20% increase. I'm like, how?
Yeah, I don't know if they found some optimization thing on their chipset, or it seems crazy to me. It also seems like you're making the headset cheaper and more powerful while trying to sell a more powerful headset at double the price almost. Like, that seems a bit counterintuitive. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, if you want to be extra shady, just like drop the price and don't tell anyone that you figured out how to optimize it.
Yeah, it's
push people to buy.
People probably
one.
wouldn't realize. So maybe this is the way for them to tell people, yes, don't worry, the new VR games that will be pushing more graphical boundaries, they will be supported in your Quest 2. Because they dropped support for the Quest 1 so quickly after the Quest 2 came out. And that's like part of what bummed me out about it. Because like they brought out Resident Evil 4 in VR. And I was like, nope, it's only in Quest 2. And I was like, fuck. And they're like,
yeah, you've got the Quest 1,
headset I sold it, but I did have the Quest 1.
How long does a battery life on a headset like that last? Just for interest sake. Because like
quite a while, 2-3 hours.
Okay,
or so.
I mean that's also like you don't really want to spend more than 2 to 3 hours away.
No, exactly. I never brushed up against the sort of limits of the battery life. And when I'm playing games like Half-Life Alyx, which I was playing for a very long time, after 2 hours I'm like tired.
Yeah.
So I think that was the only game that really pushed me to the battery's limits, but I was playing it quite a lot.
Yeah.
But then it also charges over USB-C, so it's quick.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. No,
nice.
I never had an issue with that.
But
yeah, that's coming out, later this year? September 27th.
September.
Oh, no, more details will be shared at an event on September 27th, so there's no release date.
Well, we'll see. I will say, like, it's funny, I don't own a VR headset, but I am glad that there is VR. It's like this market is here to stay. Like, when these headsets were rolling around, it was a thing of like, VR was an attempted thing, like, 2 decades earlier, but in very rudimentary form. It's cool that, there's a whole market for it. And I will get into it one day. I need to play Beat Saber.
I do think that the price for this Quest 3 absolutely clowns on the PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Like, it is
just out the
$50
box,
cheaper,
works.
firstly, and it's an all-in-one system.
Yeah.
And if you looked at obviously this whole showcase was just for VR, but the number of games that they announced, like a lot of them are coming to PSVR 2 as well. But there is just so much more faith in Quest as a platform because it actually sold. Like, it sold incredibly well.
Well,
so,
it makes it's accessible. Like, I would consider
way
picking
more
up a Quest 2 one day.
A Quest 2 now is a phenomenal idea.
Yeah.
Like $300 for an all-in-one system. Like,
and it's
great
it's
idea.
just out the box. It works. I don't need to set up any fancy tracking things.
You don't need to buy a $500 console to make it work.
Don't need a powerful PC.
Don't need one. Benefits from it, but don't need one.
That's cool. Yeah. Cool. And I guess last piece of news this week. Have you heard of The Witcher 3? Oh, I love this header. Got our main man Geralt giving a good old thumbs up here because The Witcher 3 has sold 50 million copies and the entire trilogy has sold over 75. Oh my God. This strapline, Roach for the Stars. Oh,
Eurogamer, never change.
Eurogamer, you're the best. We love you. But that's crazy.
This
numbers.
is crazy. This is a huge number for the series. And I think, obviously bolstered very recently by the Netflix series.
Sorry, I'm just looking at all these puns. Some serious numbers. I mean,
oh my God,
this is gold. But I think this is to the point. This gives a lot of weight to the argument of why TV shows based on games. Well,
work. Yeah,
it really works. Like, I think we're gonna be sharing a very similar story in the next year or two of like, The Last of Us has sold whatever tens of millions of copies as well to date. Because there's a TV show, and it just brings in a whole new legion of fans who are like, oh man, there's a game of this show. Like, I want to play that. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, it's great, and I think a lot of people want to try and like replicate that success with their own shows. That's why you're seeing so many more of them.
Sony's making so many movies and shows.
That Twisted Metal show is out like soon.
I can't wait for Gran Turismo. Let's go.
Eurogamer notes here that The Witcher 3 is now the 9th best-selling video game of all time, sitting ahead of 1996 Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow.
That is?
Which is insane.
Crazy.
The biggest selling video game of all time still remains Minecraft.
Yeah.
Sold in excess of 238 million copies. That is just nuts.
But this is not comparative in this form, but it just as a recent example, I think Tears of the Kingdom sold 10 million copies.
In a week.
It sold
a fifth of what The Witcher did in 8 years. Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is Nintendo, where's my Legend of Zelda movie? We'll show. Let's go.
Get the studio that did Castlevania on Netflix to do a Zelda show. Like not in terms of like dark tone and whatever, just like animation. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say Zelda. It's such a weird thing because like even playing Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, man, there's some really dark themes here. But Zelda, I mean, and I suppose across the franchise, Zelda's like, it's Nintendo, it's friendly. It's like, no, if you look deep enough, there's some really dark material there. Man, they could make a hell of a dark TV show like Castlevania if they really wanted to. But they won't.
But they also, I think the studio that did Castlevania, or at least the writing team, they took what was a very vague and very bare framework for a story and fleshed it out like beautifully.
Yeah.
And I think Zelda's the same. Zelda doesn't have in-depth storytelling. Like,
no.
It's got a framework, but you can do a lot within that framework. You know what I mean? You can make Ganondorf fucking scary.
Did you play the opening of Tears of the Kingdom? When zombie Ganondorf snapped back to life, man. You've never played
Ocarina of Time, but there's a moment in that game where you do like a time jump forward to like a very evil alternative like reality, and it is fucking terrifying. There are like skull things there that if you get close to them, they turn around, they scream at you, and you can't move.
Oh my
God.
It is
horrifying, and then they walk slowly towards you before they kill you.
Let me tell you.
Make that.
You got to play Tears of the Kingdom because... So what's the one key enemy missing from this game for story reasons? They were an absolute pain in the original initially. It's the Guardians. They don't exist.
The little spider boys.
They don't exist in this game. But let me tell you, there's an enemy that I would consider similar, and they're horrifying. The first time
if there's an actual spider in this game, I'm going to just but the first time from the other end of the
see
room.
This enemy, it's like, oh my God, you have to run. Nintendo make this movie. We'll show. It's cool.
Yeah. Cool. Last thing here on The Witcher. This was all part of their financial earnings. They basically just announced that the Cyberpunk 2077 DLC Phantom Liberty will be present at the Summer Games Fest. So this coming week, probably get a release date on that. And that production on the new Witcher game, which is using Unreal Engine 5, is ramping up significantly after the launch of this DLC. So
nice.
Yeah, that's the next thing to come.
Is that a remake of the first game, or is it a new...
So the remake of the first game is a separate project. This is a sequel.
Oh my God, that's too much. That's too much Witcher.
Yeah. They're working on like 3 or 4 different Witcher projects currently. It's a lot. I mean, when one fucking game sells 50 million, of course you're going to be like, cool, let's do more.
Let's just do more, yeah. I mean, I'll play them. I'm there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that is a surprisingly packed week of news.